بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected elders and brothers, mothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, tonight we have completed up to the third quarter of the fourth juz, and inshallah we will briefly go over the tafsir of one of the verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء. Say, مالك الملك, O the owner of all kingdom, the owner of all dominion, referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تؤتي الملك من تشاء, you grant dominion, you grant kingdom, you grant leadership to whoever you wish. وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ, and you snatch away dominion, kingdom, leadership, you snatch it away also from whoever you will. وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ, and O Allah, you are the one, you grant nobility and honor, you grant izzah to whoever you will. وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ, and you disgrace whoever you will. ذِلَّت, that is also in your hands. بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ, all goodness, it is only in your hands. إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٍ, indeed you are all capable over anything that you please. Respected listeners, this verse was revealed at a very, very difficult time in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where a major battle was about to take place. In all the previous battles, many of them, the Muslims would face one army. One army. Individually they would battle. Then the time came for Ghazwatul Ahzab. Ahzab means the different parties and the different groups. Many of the disbelievers, the Quraysh, the polytheists, those that worship the idols, some people from the tribes of the Yahud, some people from the tribes of the Nasara, all of these different tribes, they made a pact and they came together. And they said, we will join forces, we will unite, and once and for all, we're going to put an end to Islam and the Muslims. So this was a very, very difficult time. And this is what we call the Battle of Ahzab. It is also known as the Battle of the Khandaq, the Battle of the Trench. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he devised this plan that they would build and dig these trenches, miles and miles long. Inshallah, when we go for Hajj and Umrah, you can see where the Battle of Khandaq took place. You can see all of these different campsites where these trenches were dug. Miles and miles long, they had dug these trenches. And you can imagine in the heat of Medina Munawwara, in the hot sun, continuously, no machinery, no tractors, digging by hand. During this time, respected listeners, as they were digging these trenches, there was a certain area where there was a huge boulder, very powerful and strong rock, and it was not breaking. They're trying to hit it, they're trying to break it, they're trying to dig, but it's just not breaking. So they called Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he came and he read some du'as. And one important thing that we must understand about Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that together with being Arhamur Rahimeen, together with being so merciful, compassionate, so shy, so gentle, the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also very, very powerful. He was shuja'. He was very, very brave. The Prophet ﷺ, he struck that rock once, and it started shattering into pieces. Subhanallah. With one strike, it started shattering into pieces. And then Nabi Kareem ﷺ, he said, from the flashes that are coming out from the strike, I could see the conquest of Faris, of Persia. I could see that their buildings are going to be conquered by us. With the second strike, it broke into further pieces. And then the Messenger ﷺ said, I can see the other empires. Third strike also, I could see the other empires. When the mushrikeen and the munafiqeen, when they heard this, they started mocking Rasulullah ﷺ, na'udhu billah. And they started to say, look, they have to dig trenches to protect themselves, and they're talking about conquering all of these different lands. So then Allah revealed this verse. Dominion and kingdom and leadership and rule and power, this is only in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't think that it's from the apparent means that you see. Allah will take it from their hands and Allah will put it into their hands. And subhanAllah, that's exactly what we saw in Fath Makkah, in the conquest of Makkah. Rasulullah ﷺ came in with all of the believers and they conquered Makkah. And subhanAllah, after all of those battles, all of the oppression and torture, Rasulullah ﷺ didn't come inside Makkah as a tyrant. Rasulullah ﷺ, he came inside of Makkah with his head down. He was on the back of the camel, and the books of history mention that Rasulullah ﷺ, his head, his forehead, was almost making sajda on the back of the camel. He didn't want to come with pride, with his chin up and his nose in the air. Rasulullah ﷺ came with complete humility. وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ, you give dignity to whomever you will. وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ, and you disgrace whomever you will. Those same Muslims that were in a position of being on the lower end, they were on the lower hand, Allah granted them izzah or no? Allah granted them their nobility or no? This is all through the sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he mentioned a very beautiful statement. He said, نَحْنُ قَوْمٌ أَعَزَّنَ اللَّهُ بِالْإِسْلَامِ. We are a nation, Allah has given us izzah through Islam. We were people that used to bury our daughters alive. We were people that used to deprive our family members of their inheritance. We were people that used to shed blood for the most trivial of affairs. But through Islam, Allah has given us izzah, Allah has given us dignity. From this is a golden statement that we must learn, brothers and sisters, is that izzah in this dunya, it doesn't come from the car that you drive. It doesn't come from the size of your home. It doesn't come from your libas and how expensive your clothing is. Izzah comes from how close you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And brothers and sisters, lastly, in this dunya, we don't know who is Aziz and who is Dhaleel. Truly, in the eyes of Allah, who is noble, who has Izzah and who has Dhillah. In this dunya, we don't know. There will be people, respected listeners, on Qiyamah, that in this world, they were honored. People looked up to them. They were people of wealth. They were people of izzah. They were people of invitations. They were people that were respected and notable in the society. But on the day of Qiyamah, they will be dhaleel. They will be the lowest of the low. They will be ashamed. They will be embarrassed. Their sins will be called out in front of everybody. Allahumma hafadna. We ask Allah to protect us. And on the other hand, there will be people that in this dunya, nobody cared about them. Nobody looked at them. Nobody invited them to their invitations. People looked down on them. They didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have a lot of status. They didn't have followers. They were people that laid low. But on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will elevate them. Ala ru'usil khalaiq. In front of everybody, Allah will call them. Allah will invite them specially. Where are my servants? أَيْنَ الْمُتَحَابُّونَ بِجَلَالِي O kama qal. Different categories of people, Allah Azza wa Jal, He will call them on Qiyamah in a place of honor and nobility. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that inshallah He includes us amongst this category. Inshallah we'll end here. The next part of the verse we will explain tomorrow inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.